On number 2, you have negative x squared equals 32. You change the negative from one side to the other, so you have x squared equals negative 32. And when you simplify it, you have to square both sides. So when you square negative 32, you will get these right here, which is 4 and 8, because that is factors of 32. So you'll square 4 and you square 8, and you have to square negative 1 because of the negative and negative 32, which will give you I. So when you have all that, you'll have x equals plus or minus 4i square root of 2. And for the discriminant, since a equals 1, b equals 0, and c equals negative 32, you substitute them in to the discriminant equation, which gives you 0 squared minus 4 times negative 32, which the discriminant will equal 128. On number 4, we have 4x squared plus 84 plus 40x. We can first start off by putting the numbers in the correct order. Now that you put it in order, you can now see that all the numbers can be divided by 4 from 4x squared. So you divide by 4 on all numbers. Now you factor x squared minus 10x plus 21. You are left with x equals 3 and 7. For our discriminant, we have a equals 1, b equals negative 10, and c equals 21. Once you do that, you substitute all the numbers into the discriminant equation, which will give you the answer for the discriminant, which will be 16. For number 5, we have x squared equals 28. To solve this, we have to square both sides by taking the square root from x and doing it to 28. When you do that, you'll find the solution for x will be plus or minus 2 square root of 7. For the discriminant, we have a equals negative 1, b equals 0, and c equals 28. You then substitute your numbers into the discriminant equation, which will give you a solution for the discriminant, which is 112. For number 6, we have k squared plus 6k minus 66 equals 0. You add 66 to both sides, and then you find the perfect square, which will have k squared plus 6k plus 9 equals 66. Once you do that, you factor out the perfect square, which will give you k plus 3 squared, and you have to add the 9. Since you added the 9 on one side, you have to add it to the other, which will give you 75. Once you do that, you take the square root of both sides, and when you do that, you'll have plus or minus square root of 75, but also you have to have the absolute value of k plus 3. Once you do that, you can simplify your square root of 75, which is 5 square roots of 3. And once you've subtracted your 3 for both sides, you'll have negative 3 plus or minus 5 square root of 3. For our discriminant, we have a equals 1, b equals 6, and c equals negative 66. You then substitute all your numbers into the discriminant equation, which will leave you with the solution 300. For number 9, you have x squared equals 4 plus 3x. You first start off by switching 4 plus 3x to the other side, which will give you x squared minus 3x minus 4. Once you do that, you can now factor out your equation, which will give you x minus 4 and x plus 1, which your x will equal negative 1 and 4. For your discriminants, your a equals 1, b equals negative 3, and c equals negative 4. Once you substitute all your numbers in, the discriminant will equal 25. For number 11, you have x squared minus 5 equals 84. You add 5 to both sides, which will give you x squared equals 89. You then square both sides, which will give you x equals square root of 89. Since you can't go any further, x will just equal square root of 89. For the discriminants, a will equals 1, b will equal 0, and c will equal 89. Once you do that, you can finally substitute in all your numbers. Since 0 equals b, you don't have to put b. So it'll be negative 4 times 1 times 89. 1 times 89 is 89. So you'll have negative 4 times 89. And once you do that, your discriminant will equal negative 356. For number 12, you have m squared minus 4m plus 3. On this problem, you can simply just factor it and have m minus 1 and m minus 3, which m equals 1 and 3. Once you finally substitute all your numbers in, your discriminant will equal 4. For number 15, we have 2x squared minus 4x minus 140. You can first by dividing 2 by all the numbers, which the factors will be x minus 9, x plus 8, and x giving you 9 and negative 8. Your numbers for the discriminant will be a equals 1, b equals negative 1, and c equals negative 72. And finally, once you're done with it, you substitute all your numbers to the equation, and the discriminant will equal 289.